Welcome to episode 9 of Cheap Cans, Broken Vans and Basement Bar Bands. It's this podcast series where we go through all the TNS releases one by one, try and remember what we've done with our lives, try and remind people what they've bought over the years or what they should have bought over the years. They can remedy that if we've still got it in stock. And this episode, we've got some special celebrity guests all the way from sunny Ipswich, the Wales of the East, Shawn and Zoe. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Hi guys.
None too shabby, I suppose.
You've got a very exciting looking bar just behind you. I think this episode is going to pan out well.
Yeah.
We have, there is more on the floor as well. We have got a table bar kicking off. Nice. If we're going to do something wrong, do it right.
So what are you drinking?
I'm on Disaronno and crushed lemon and diet lemonade.
I've got vodka and cheap Coke.
Way.
Nice. I've got Schindinger, so I've got a shout out for Schindinger because Andy, I told Andy this morning I drank all my beer playing poker last night, and Andy suggested getting some Schindinger in, and they delivered within 4 hours, which can't go wrong there, can you?
Yeah. So what we've been trying to do is tread the irony of our compilation being called Cheap Cans, Broken Vans. There's no irony there. So getting posh beer in. So this is a brewery I found the other week called Twisted Wheel from Warrington. And
Nice.
I was slightly outside their catchment area, but they still delivered to me, which was very kind of them. And they've also delivered me an 11% beer, which I've decided to not have on this episode because we're recording 2 episodes in a row. But the next episode will be our last episode of the series, although we might carry it on. So I'm going to have the 11% as part of that as a special celebration.
Finale.
Just to finish my night off, and then I'll probably go to sleep.
You treat us so well, Andy. So this episode we're talking about TNS081 all the way through to TNS090. So what year are we in? Is that end of 2019 through to 2020? I guess. I lose track. See, I should have looked up this beforehand, shouldn't I?
I think it'd be 2018.
Oof.
Would it?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bandcamp might tell me.
Google.
Yeah, that's it. Find out your own information ahead. It's good that we're researching, but okay, let's
say what you like about this podcast, but it has been consistent. We've forgotten everything, not been able to work out what year that the releases were, and drank heavily.
But isn't that half the fun though? Because then you can sort of rediscover everything as you go and be like, "Oh, that was good, wasn't it?" Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. We just we do the rediscovering part, that's all.
I mean, we had a conversation before we started recording for anyone watching this about whether we missed a release off the last episode. That's how professional we are.
So, but this okay, let's go for the first release. It came out on the 19th of June, 2019. Quick research for you there. Are you ready? Wait a minute. Oof. 2 color variants.
So yeah, this is a 7-inch which features 6 bands: The Domestics, Pizzatramp, Grand Collapse, Wolf Beast Destroyer, Rash Decision, and Guilt Police. And yeah, first time we worked with some of those bands.
Yeah. So this was pulled together by James Domestic, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, multi-label release, 5 labels involved in this. and it's good. It's a feast of fast, I would describe it as. But
great record that.
Obviously got a bit of an Ipswich connection, so yeah.
One of James's many projects, one of the many things he does.
Busy man is that, James.
I love all the little 7-inches he's put out in the past have all been great. Like they're just getting so many bands together on a 7-inch.
Quickly as well.
Yeah,
it's all
really,
like
really
proper...
quickly, doing all the work, putting out good stuff quickly, and like introducing loads of people to new bands. It's really good. But this one in particular, I'd never heard of Wolfbeat. Was it Wolfbeat Destroyer?
Yeah, I think so.
Until never heard of them until got the 7-inch.
Yeah, well, it's a good way to introduce people to new bands, this sort of thing, isn't it? Because even like you say, like we listen to so much music, but someone who buys as much records as you guys, it's a new band you're introduced to by something like this, and I think that's the reason to do them, isn't it? But it's always nice, and hopefully loads of people heard the stuff on this and went out and checked out full albums and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely works well for us like that. With the Domestics, Pizzatramp, Grand Collapse. Yeah, it was James pulling together, so we didn't really have to do a lot on the kind of sorting it all out. Kind of.
What were the colour variants? I think we've just got a black one.
Yeah,
black and red. I think 2 variants.
Okay.
I've got a red one.
Nice.
I mean, it's worth talking about the Ipswich scene, really, because obviously I've been down there quite a bit. It's always been amazing. I mean, the amount of bands who must have stayed in the room you're sitting in. But obviously,
Domestics
Domestics, Casual, Nausea. There's just so many good bands down there, isn't there? And there's obviously a lot more than that, but I guess they're the two that TNS has worked with most closely.
I think we are really lucky.
I think, like we've got loads of bands come and go, and like there's a few that have stuck around, but I think it's more like the kind of little scene we've got. It's not big enough to be like split.
Yeah, it's not like
everyone who's into punk in Ipswich comes to all of the punk gigs, and you get a really nice following. Like, I love the little gigs we have here.
I was thinking about it was the Pizzatramp gig where I think Jim always dedicates that song to everyone that's outside smoking.
Yeah.
And I think it was like their last song or something, and he just sort of went, I'd normally dedicate this to all the cunts outside smoking, but there isn't any. They're all in here, and it was just like, like that's all we hope for. Do you know what I mean? That's a good thing.
Nice, smashed it.
Yeah. And I must give a shout out to the Stupids, really, on the subject of DIY from Ipswich, because my oven element broke the other day, and Marty encouraged me to fix it myself, which I did manage to do. So thanks, Marty.
Good egg.
I posted on Facebook, and he was DIY, like, Andy. I know, I actually did some real DIY. My dad can't do his joke anymore. So he goes, you DIY.
It was funnily enough, Marty helped quite a lot with the setup for the smokehouse.
Yeah.
When the smokehouse was first opening and becoming a venue, he put all the lights in and the PA in and did a lot of work before it opened. And it was him that kind of first put us in touch with the smokehouse before. Yeah, him and Paul Fork, before we knew it was a venue and our last venue closed, they kind of said there's this new venue opening that no one really knew anything about. And we had 6 gigs booked at McGinty's, where I'm pretty sure Revenge have played McGinty's.
Yeah, you played in one of the attic rooms upstairs.
We had McGinty's, but we had 6 gigs booked there, and they closed without any warning, and we couldn't get hold of it. And then a new landlord came in, but didn't want anything to do with us, and just like pretty much dismissed us. And we were sending the smokehouse. Marty told us about the smokehouse, and Marty and Paul told us about the smokehouse, and we were sending the owner messages saying any chance we could get on. Didn't get any reply for ages, and then he invited us to an open day, and we went to an open day there, and it was set up like a cafe with like tables and chairs.
I'll be honest, I shit myself.
Yeah, like that tiny room, like brand new, painted lovely white and everything, and we were like, well, this isn't going to work. And then kind of at the end, we kind of talked about all the stuff they were doing there in relation.
They do like a lot of community project work and like a lot of like stuff.
Yeah, talked about all the kind of learning disability projects they have going on there and all the mental health workshops they have. And then right at the end of this talk, and also we've got 10 punk gigs booked with these guys. And at that point, we'd had like no correspondence from him, didn't know it was happening. And then
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that. The first gig we had there was like Active Slaughter and Brain Freeze and us, and there was Human Pyramids and Footprints on the Ceiling. And
we were just like, we're never getting us back here. That's it. We fucked it.
I think at one point I noticed the owner Joe just with his camera like in front of a human pyramid, looking really, really happy, and I was like, I think we might be all right here. I think this might be all right.
That's what you want from a venue, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, them embracing the gigs, but also like using a venue for so many different things to actually help the community. It's like similar to how it is in Europe, and
they are brilliant.
More of
they
that
do
here.
like a lot of work, a huge amount of work, really.
It's amazing how like scenes can be so reliant on, it makes such a difference, doesn't it? Having a decent space and somewhere that you can easily go to.
Yeah. Them in the Steamboat, innit?
Yeah, we got them in the Steamboat, really, and without them we wouldn't really have a scene at the minute, I don't think. So
I've only ever had a good time in Ipswich. It's a very nice.
It makes us very, very happy. It really does.
I mean, I've had some pretty appalling hangovers in the room you're sitting in, but apart from that,
definitely.
I mean, I think that's part of it as well. The amount of people we've squeezed into this room. I think you've been here when we've had at least like 3 other bands staying at the same time.
Yeah.
Just like no floor space.
I can't remember what gig it was, but there was one night where I don't think it was a gig we were putting on, but we were helping out people with somewhere to stay, and we had 14 Frenchmen. It was like room Tetris. It's like, right, you can lay there, you can sleep standing there. Like, it was pretty good.
This has been a common theme with guests on the podcast, actually, people who have had a lot of people in their house. I think the greatest I've had, if anyone's been in my house, it's just a 2 up, 2 down terrace. It's quite small. And I think I've had over 20 in this house before. And it was just like where you can sleep, and people are like sleeping just at the top of the stairs in like a ball.
Yeah.
Which is
amazing how resourceful people can be with space.
Well, I've built a wooden pub in my garden now, so they can sleep in there now.
That'd be all right in the summer.
Yeah, maybe not so much in the winter. It is basically a shed, but
chuck a gazebo up as well. That's a nice little walkway to the shed.
Yeah, well, there we go. That's it. Little
sounds like it's going to be a festival.
Yeah.
Just because there was a meteor and a big dust cloud made it get real cold. The biggest mass extinction was it the one that happened to the dinosaurs. They evolved from 4% of species after 1 to 50 million years before. Permian, Triassic, a monocontinent existed on a planet. It was dramatic, was acidic.
One of my favourite releases, this.
It's a great split between Stöj Snak and Stöj. Yeah, it's what the artwork's been put together by Niels, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously you can recognise that from their other releases. I think, and it's split between us and 5 Feet Under from Denmark. Lovely variant.
I've got the white one, actually. I'd wanted to do something with Speed Dinosaurs for ages as well, and oh yes, a little glow in the dark dinosaurs just fallen out as well. I forgot we put them in. But obviously Speed Dinosaurs kind of started getting a name for themselves, doing all the covers and things like that. And well, I guess it's a while back now, but they started doing original stuff as well. And there's just like this really sort of quirky element to it with having like the ukulele and the double bass and the cajon, but it's just like really, really amazing to see live, aren't they? They're just so much fun.
They just remind me of Pie Race. Like
Speed
Dinosaurs go hand in hand with Pie Race for me.
Yeah.
Like lots of good times with Pie Race.
Seeing loads of people squeeze up on that tiny stage. Kazoos.
Yeah, I really like how they try so many different things out as well. They've just got a really interesting approach to making music, haven't they? Which Stöj Snak has as well. I think it just worked really well as a split. And I reckon a lot of people buying that won't have known the other band as well. Obviously, there would be a big group of people who knew both bands, but I reckon a lot of people who thought that in Denmark wouldn't have known Speed Dinosaurs, and definitely a lot of people Speed Dinosaurs might play to. It would introduce them to Stöj, Snak, and again, we've talked about this loads, but that's a good thing about doing splits, isn't it? Especially bands from 2 different countries.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
just 2 completely separate audiences, isn't it?
2 little scenes.
Yeah.
Similar scenes.
Coming together.
Mm-hmm. Have you had either of them in Ipswich?
We haven't. We were talking about this last night.
We really wanted to get Speed Dinosaurs for a long time. I can't remember if they actually played. They were booked to play the Royal Oak when Tanya and Mike had it. But I can't remember if they played or not in the end. But they were booked on something there. It might have been. No, I can't remember.
No, it's one of those things that's kind of blurred into faded memory.
We wanted Speed Dinosaurs for a long time, and we were talking to Snak. I say Stöj, Snak.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Stöj, I think.
we were talking to them about booking something this year, weren't we? I think we were pretty late to the party with Stöj, Snak, really, because I think the first time we actually saw them was at Kaz and Big Hands' wedding. And that was like that was
when it was just
I think we already had releases by them by then, but we never saw them live until the wedding.
Yeah, I guess they can't come over loads and loads anyway, though.
Yeah.
And they've only very recently been able to come over as a full band. Been over a couple of times as like a 2-piece, haven't they? But
they might have played Ipswich. Did they play Ipswich after they played the festival in Warrington or near Warrington?
Did they play Norwich? I don't know.
Norwich.
No,
Same place.
There was one time when we were away. I can't remember where we were, but we were out of Ipswich.
They messaged us, yeah.
And it was one of them situations where they asked if anyone else would be, because we were gigging somewhere else, and they asked if anyone else would be able to help them in Ipswich. And we were like, well, we can put you in touch with some people, but we'd be really, really sad if you play Ipswich and we're not around. But we can help you out if you want. But I can't remember when that was. I think, like you say, they ended up playing Norwich instead, didn't they?
Because we were going to put them in touch with the housing cart, weren't we?
Yeah.
And do like a little, because our mates have a local housing cart and they do like little living room gigs as well, which is just beautiful. So we were thinking like they'd go down really, really well there, but I might have died a little bit if we couldn't have been there, to be totally honest.
I've slept on the floor in there as well.
You have, yeah.
The Royal Oak, what a venue that was as well.
That's amazing.
So with the Denmark connections, what I think we played the Royal Oak with Stars Burn Stripes. And,
we've had Forever Unclean stay here.
Yeah, that's another band.
Yeah. Forever Unclean have stayed here last time they played in Ipswich.
They're quality, aren't they?
Yeah, really, really nice guys as well. Really nice people.
But I think, like, to be honest, a lot of the people that, like a lot of TNS bands and people that we're really good friends with now, we probably wouldn't have met if it wasn't for Tammy and Mike at the Royal Oak and the bands that they put on there. Like, they started bringing in like lots of out-of-town bands and making it worthwhile for out-of-town bands to come to Ipswich, I think. Just like, you know, the audiences weren't always good, but they were always treated really, really well and always had a really, really lovely time. So I think it wasn't for them.
And they're like, they're so supportive of the scene, aren't they? I know they don't run a venue anymore, but always like the first people at the merch store. Ipswich is like that though. Ipswich has just got a really nice crowd. It's very lovely.
I do like to think that, like, at least, well, I hope anyway, that everyone kind of feels part of something. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're a little community, but I hope that everyone kind of feels as much a part of it as anyone else, be it a band or you go to the gigs, or do you know what I mean? Like, however it works out.
I think, like, Tammy and Mike have always, like you say, gone above and beyond to the point where if they've ever not been able to come to a gig, they PayPal us the entry money still.
Or like drop it through our door.
It's like, you don't have to do that. That's not necessary. Like, it's just so supportive and like unreal, really is. Bless them.
Oh, I think the biggest compliment I can pay playing in Ipswich from a band perspective is like Revenge got to the point where playing Ipswich, you felt a little bit like it was a hometown gig. You know, you'd see like the same faces, you know, like people would be there, you'd be like having drinks with everyone before, and you just felt really part of it, even though you were the traveling band. And I think to have a band who feels like, we always wanted that in Manchester, didn't we? We wanted bands that could come to Manchester and play it as if it was a hometown gig, and they'd have like a core crowd there, and it's so nice when that happens.
That's really nice to hear. I think like one of the other things we found is like we don't get that a little bit, but not much of a difference in turnout on a Tuesday night or a like Saturday or Friday night. So a lot of the bands that we put on regularly will try, if they're on a tour, will try and get their weeknight gigs in Ipswich because they know they kind of still get a good crowd. And we're always like, oh, it'd be better for us if we could do a weekend because we get a few more people out. But they're like, yeah, but we still get at least that kind of 30, between 30 and 50 people out on a Tuesday night, which is quite good, isn't it, for like an unknown DIY touring band.
Still puts the shit up you though, do you know what I mean? It really does. You're still sitting there at like 7:15 when the doors open at 7 on Tuesday going, no one's coming, fucking coming, what are we going to do? Like, shit. But
I guess you still think that on a Saturday if you put on a gig.
You do, yeah.
To be honest, every single gig, like
the promoter stress.
Yeah, it makes you sound really corporate, but when we started being able to sell tickets, it was such an amazing thing. Well, for a period, it was such an amazing thing because you knew you'd cover your costs.
Yeah.
But then if the tickets weren't selling so well, it was the worst thing. I remember 2 nights before the Zeke gig, we were $1,000 down, and we were like, it's the biggest gig we'd put on outside of MPF as well, and we were like, oh, for fuck's sake. I've always wanted to see Zeke in Manchester, but I didn't expect to pay 250 quid for it.
Yeah, but then
but it broke even in the end, so it was all good.
Yeah, start reasoning it, going, yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
We've all had that conversation with ourselves at some point, It's going, yeah, but though.
One small side thing of this is Andy was redesigning the logo for TNS around this, and I think I pointed at the dinosaur in one of the videos for this and went, that colour, that's the colour we want.
Yeah.
And that's where the colour of the TNS logo came from.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So this was an interesting thing, wasn't it? Well, basically, Safety Pin magazine is it's a really, really cool magazine, which he always puts a release with it. So at the moment, he's been doing like a series of 7 inches. But in one of the earlier magazines, he did a compilation CD for us. So it's just a collaboration. Collaborations are good, aren't they? But it was an 18-track compilation. It was basically the closest we've ever done to a label sampler. We've always tried to, with compilations, do something a bit different, sort of our bands we haven't worked with necessarily. But this one had some bands we hadn't worked with at this point, but there were bands we'd already organised to do future releases with. So yeah, loads of wicked bands on it.
He's like, we got in touch early on. I think we first came aware of them after, I don't know, maybe a couple of issues. He had the whole feature on Wonk Unit in there, so we got in touch about sending stuff for review. And yeah, he was always really supportive, saying we'd send an advert through, I'll put it in for free, and we sorted out trades to get his magazine in our distro and make sure it was out in MPF. And I think we kind of did a bit of a swap on flyers as well, possibly to do. So we got the word out of the magazine in MPF, and he helped get the word out about MPF through the magazine. And when he sent everything out, so yeah, just a natural progression from there, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I packed an order 2 days ago, which was just the latest Safety Pin magazine, and that's the only thing the person had bought, and it was to Malaysia. So how cool is that?
I saw that and I was like, I hope I've set up the postage right on this, else it's going to cost us much.
Yeah, the postage was more than the cost of the magazine.
That's awesome, though, isn't it? That really does make you think, like, how far this kind of thing can stretch,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. It's a really so it works as a really nice way to. Is that some nice photography going on there?
Yeah, it's your photo, but it's Matt Twist, who I'm surprised he's still in one piece.
I think I've got a series of photos where he's just like upwards and then just go further back.
He has no regard for his own welfare at that point. But yeah.
So yeah, we decided to give
Nice
it a catalog
fold-out
number.
sleeve.
To,
I think doing this might have sort of been something that helped us sort of confirm that we would do a compilation for TNS 100 as well, wasn't it? It was like we'd always thought that would be the apt thing to do, but like actually compiling a compilation is quite good fun, although quite stressful because there's bands you want to put on and there's just not enough space and things like that. But
I think we were thinking about another compilation. It was like slowly became, I guess, around this time we started to go, we should do another compilation, and kind of had rough ideas, but not really committing to it. And then it was like, actually, no, this works for 100, and then kind of work towards that. You're right that it's kind of like starts cementing those thoughts a bit.
On the subject of our compilation as well, I'm about to move on to another beer, and I bought this can randomly because the graphics on it look a little bit like the graphics on our compilation. Because on the compilation we had a dot for every release, so it's got 100 dots on it. So I thought, I mean, I'm a sucker for this sort of beer, and it was really Bev who got me into trying it. But now I've done it because it's well branded. All the branding's really nice, and it tastes better. So, well, I've never had anything from this brewery before. It's a Collider from Neon Raptor Brewing Company. So I'll feedback on that.
They're
shortly.
good. They're good.
Sounds fancy.
So there's absolutely no cheap cans going on during this podcast.
No, not a chance.
That's our. That's our.
We are repping with the cheapest vodka that Aldi could sell.
We are drinking Aldi vodka and
Aldi Disaronno.
Yeah, so
I like how you bring some respectability to this.
I did mean to get a can of Skull for my last drink of the podcast, but instead I bought a £5 11% beer.
Go out in style, mate. It's
the way to
fine.
go.
I mean, I'm not going to be able to do this when you can go to pub again. I'm not going to be able to afford these beers, so I'm just going to enjoy it whilst I can.
It's stronger as well, so you just find that you just got no sense of where you should be, and you just end up in a mess on the floor.
It's fun times.
I mean, I've argued with Martin Battle about like spending money on this beer, and he's like, "Oh, you can get 4 cans of Galahad for like £3." But I get both, you know. Like I think sometimes you're like in the mood for like classical music. Sometimes you're in the mood for horrible punk. Sometimes you're in the mood for like fried junk food. Sometimes you're in the mood for really nice food. You've got to have a bit of both. So I'll still have some Galahad. I'll still have a bit.
You have to justify yourself to us, mate.
I might draw the line at Skull. But...
Oh, that's hard work. Skull is hard work. Should we go on to the next release?
Oh no.
Well, this is a very good release.
Sorry, Peter.
Well, first of all, there's lots of good stories about this release, isn't there? Because
I've forgotten about one of these. I've just found
nearly
it.
didn't go ahead, and then it did go ahead, and I've now obviously me and Zoe do Knife Club, and I've practiced in the place where this ended up being recorded, and it's such a cool place. It's the most X-Files thing I've ever seen. Big Hans was so excited because he is some sort of X-Files geek. He was like, "Oh," but yeah, I'll let you tell the story.
Well, we were basically I think for all of us, Was it 2018, 2019? When we recorded?
2018,
when we recorded.
I think, when we recorded.
It was a pretty shit year for all of us. Like, we basically ended up in a situation where we had no transport between us. And we had
Life
planned,
had fallen apart.
Yeah,
hugely.
we had planned to go to Leeds to record with Ben, obviously, of the Organ Works. And,
lovely Ben Hannah.
And that had been, I think we had kind of demoed 4 songs with him, and like we're totally happy with him. Like, as far as we were concerned, they were the best thing we'd ever recorded.
Not that anyone else had done like a bad job or anything, but I think
it was not only his like technical ability, but also the fact that he knew how to control us and wrangle us to do the right thing and like get the best out of us. And we all had fun and we all felt relaxed and comfortable with him because he's a good friend of ours. And so we enjoyed those 4 tracks and then decided we were going to go and do the whole album. But we've always been like I think mainly Ed as well, like, you know, has always said, let's, you know, make sure we know the songs as good as we possibly can, like play them as long as we can, make sure we've drilled them and we know the songs really well before we record.
Because we're not one of those bands that doesn't practice and stays good.
Yeah, we have to practice a lot.
We practice really hard to stay fucking shambolic.
Yeah,
you know?
I know that feeling very well.
Yeah. But, so we got when once after we'd done those 4 songs, we waited till we got the 19 songs or whatever it was.
I can't remember how many it is now.
You know, and then we're like, right, we're ready to do the album. And just as we were about to head up there,
shit hit the fan.
Yeah, we lost all our transport and couldn't get to Leeds. So Ben, at the last minute, said he would come to Ipswich and record it here. So he basically packed his recording studio into the car, came to Ipswich, and where we actually recorded is where you mentioned earlier, where you practice with Knife Club, which is about 30-40 miles outside of Ipswich, on an ex-military base. Like, it's basically the England's Roswell, I think is what it's described as. Like, there's been alien sightings there. There's the famous alien sighting in the 80s.
And it's got one of the only functioning runways for the International Space Station.
Yeah, I'm not. Someone told me this fact, and then I've been telling people this fact like it was. Yeah, I've been telling people this fact like it was gospel, and because someone reliable told it to me. And then I said it a little while ago, and someone just went, I can't remember who it was. They just looked at me and went, that's bullshit. And now I'm questioning whether it's true.
I hate it when that happens.
But apparently, it's got, like, there's a runway there, and it's really highly maintained, and the army still, like, clean the runway and stuff. And I heard it's because it's one of the only runways long enough in the world to land the space shuttle on.
Shuttle, not station.
Yeah, the space shuttle
that
from the space station, the International Space Station, if they ever have to evacuate that. But yeah, I don't know if that's true now, so don't take my word for it. Someone looked me dead in the eyes and told me it's bullshit, so I don't know whether that's true.
Maybe it's a very cool place, though.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really cool place.
We're lucky as well because it's in the middle of nowhere. It means that we can rock up there. And like Paul, the guy who actually owns the unit, basically said, like, here's a key. It's 20 quid per time. You can use it for as long as you want. Like, there's no residential houses around there, so you could feasibly stay there and practice all night if you wanted to, which we have done a few times, like getting ready for the album and stuff like that.
We basically had to then, because obviously there was the 5 of us plus Ben and all of Ben's equipment, we had to like rely on lifts to get us all to and from this place 30 miles outside of Ipswich and all come back here to sleep. So we were like literally like our friends from the housing co-op were driving us around, our family members were driving us around for the 4 days we recorded. We were getting driven around by everyone, and Ben was doing some
ferrying back and forth.
Yeah, doing some long old hours, and you know, but it all turned out really.
I stabbed myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that was the thing.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was after the first.
I think that you ended up in Knife Club.
Yeah, you know, definitely works. The scar I've been left with as well is so disappointing, but. Like, to be honest, if the injury had been any worse, I'm not sure I could have fucking coped. But I will also say that I genuinely, like, as Shawn said, like, Ben is amazing at getting the best out of people that he works with. He's just got a way with people where he's like dead patient and lovely. But I fucking hate recording, as you've probably noticed by now, Andy. I absolutely fucking detest it. It's awful. But I think because I was so preoccupied with how much my fucking hand hurt, I just wanted to get my vocals done and dusted so I could just sit in a corner and just rock myself. So like, I think that is probably some of the best vocals I've ever done.
I think you should mention that you also, the way you stabbed yourself in the hand was prizing frozen vegan burgers apart at 1 a.m. with a big sharp knife.
I thought it was blunt.
Like holding burgers like this with a big sharp knife like this.
I basically kebabbed my hand. It was like burger, knife, hand. Awful. But you know, you live and learn. Haven't done that since, and I keep looking at the knife very suspiciously. What done it as well?
19 songs in 4 days is going some as well. It is 19. I just checked.
Yeah,
I think we ended up.
it was meant to be 18.
Yeah, well,
weren't
no,
it?
we ended up using the 4 songs we demoed.
Oh yeah.
We
that was
originally
it.
were going to re-record those because they
All
were
right.
recorded in a different place with a different drum kit. So we were going to re-record those, but we found that they actually slotted in, I think, pretty seamlessly,
Yeah, quite
and
nicely.
we didn't end up re-recording them in the end. We used the 4 that we recorded in Leeds, so 4 of them were actually recorded.
So it's 50 we did.
Yeah, so we did 15. Yeah, 15 in the 4 days.
Oh yeah, you did the acoustic one, didn't you? Which wasn't planned.
No, that was an accident. That was Ben
Yeah.
just trying to wrangle all of our mental health back into one place.
I think that was
You know
mostly.
what, I love that chat though. I mean, I love the original, but it's sometimes nice on an album when you're not expecting something, and I wasn't expecting that version, and I think it's awesome. I like the original loads as well, but that version's just really nice. It's good when things work in multiple ways.
Yeah, I think that mostly came about because I had a bit of a breakdown recording it, because we'd always for a long time we opened with that song, and we'd never really worked out the lengths of any of the parts. We just did it all by nods and winks, and like, so we'd start playing it, and then when Ed thought there was enough people in the room, he'd give me a nod and we'd move to the next part. And so we didn't know how. And on the day he was like, we'll do this bit for 4 times, this bit for 4 times, and then whatever. But I couldn't get the hang of it and was just like looking for nods that weren't there, kind of thing. So I had a bit of a breakdown. So we ended up, like Ben said, just all sit on the floor, play through it, and then he recorded it and played it to us at the end and was like, that sounded awesome. Yeah, so
That's cool. I love it.
Who did the
Really
artwork
good.
for this?
Simon.
Simon does all of the artwork for us and many other bands as well. It's like you look at the Domestics artwork, he does all of that as well.
I don't think he does all of the domestic.
Oh, maybe not
stuff,
all of
does
it, but he does a lot of it. But he's fucking awesome, to be honest with you. And he could do a lot of stuff with his art if he wanted to, I think. Like, I'd really take my hat off to him. He's fucking brilliant.
I'd completely forgotten about Sick Bag.
Yeah, I might need
Oh, I
this
love it.
later, but this was a novel idea we had. Like when I actually went into work, I abused having screen printing set up at work. I teach graphics and we do a bit of screen printing. And I bought some sick bags and I screen printed
Fucking
the
brilliant.
album cover on sick bags.
Yeah, we're
And
always looking
have you-
for.
Did you use one, Zoe?
I haven't, because I thought it was too pretty, to be honest. I did take one on stage with me at one of our gigs. I was like, yeah, I'll use this, because like I will be sick at some point. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was like, I don't want to ruin it. It's too nice.
I really
remember
enjoyed
the-
making
these-
them. Someone came into my classroom and went, "What are you printing?" Now, like a student, I went, because I don't tell them anything about my other life. I was like, it's a bit unusual, actually. But they thought it was funny. It was
Oh,
all
that's
right.
brilliant.
I can't remember whether these were limited or not.
I think they were. I think it was
we
only
must have done it.
50 or
Was it?
100.
Yeah, I think it was the
Yeah.
first 50 albums got on the pre-order, got one with them, didn't
I've
they?
still got a couple set aside.
Yeah.
Our
Like,
usual-
for myself.
Our usual hustle to try and get people to pre-order.
What better than a sick bag, though?
Yeah, how many
What a sick
releases have you
thing to
bought
give
with that-
away
with
with
the Sick Bag?
An album.
Ah,
So
nice.
good.
Such a good idea. Obviously, that was your idea. We had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
That was
That was an unexpected but very welcomed extra.
your pro marketing skills.
Yeah, years of experience coming up with sick bags.
Nailed
Coming
it.
up with
Fucking nailed
absolute
it.
nonsense.
Oh, brilliant.
Should we move
Still
on?
not as good as the. I was just going to say, still my favourite was the slice of pizza with the Pizzatramp album.
Oh, it's so funny. There's
It's
people,
so silly.
people that have still got it either in their freezer. I think there's at least one person that's like varnished it, so they've like.
That's amazing.
Very-
That's dedication to the
It's just
cause, is
not
what that is.
It's just like
Probably
cheap shit pizza that somebody's just left to one side. It hasn't gone mouldy yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says
Did
about
people
them.
eat them though? Did some people eat them? That's
Must have done, I reckon.
surely
Must-
I wouldn't
must have.
know. I'm not sure.
Well, they might need
Yeah.
the sick bag as well. So we're all, you know, we've got these novel ideas, but we're also like functional. Like if you eat the pizza now, you've got
Here's
the
the
sick
sick
bag. If it's not very nice, if it's gone
Absolutely banging. Oh,
I hope
so
somebody
good.
has used a sick bag, and please tell us if you have.
I feel like someone has, but I can't remember who it is. It was probably Matt Twist, sort of thing.
Wake up here every Friday to relieve ourselves from work. Say it's been better than the night before. Let's all have break loose as we cut through this town. The best bitch, pressure cooker.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
So many bands on that I'd never heard before.
Yeah, I mean it's a multi-label, multi-band, well, compilation album really. So we got to pick 2 tracks from this, but it was basically a showcase of labels from the DIY scene, and all the labels went in on it. Took a certain amount of copies each.
I was going to say every label picked 2 tracks, but there's actually an odd number of tracks on here. So I can't tell you what happened there.
Your photos are on it as well.
Oh, yeah, great photography. I'm going to keep saying.
Are they Wonfest photos?
They're
Yeah.
Pizzatramp at Wonkfest, I think.
Look how happy Jim is. Happy There's some very happy faces. I always like seeing the crowd pictures, like to see how happy people are. Look how happy it makes people.
So
Look
lovely.
how happy it makes people rolling around in a big pile.
What were our picks on it? We picked
our
Harajan,
picks
didn't
were,
we? Was it
there was
Pizzatramp?
one. Yeah, we picked Town Clown by Pizzatramp, but we also picked Portland Street by Harajan. But it was because at that point, Harajan had never been on vinyl, and we wanted to dedicate something to Tim. So our friend Tim, who passed away, recorded lots of the early TNS stuff, and he was in Harajan, but then he stopped being in Harajan to concentrate on recording. And yeah, obviously way too young. And but yeah, we wanted to dedicate something. So it says this track is a dedication to the memory of our friend Tim Gray. Tim was responsible for this recording, many more TNS releases, and a huge amount of important recordings from the whole DIY UK music scene. And was one of the first people to truly get behind TNS and support our ethos, and will always be remembered for his huge contribution to everything this label has done. So
That's
thanks,
lovely.
Tim. But it was the first time Harajan were on vinyl, and then at that point, there was sort of an inkling that Harajan might do something again. But yeah, we wanted them to have something on vinyl, and we wanted to dedicate something to Tim. So at that point, we didn't know that Harajan would end up coming back and doing the album, which has done exceptionally well. But
yeah, it must have been around the time they played MPF.
Yeah, I think
maybe a bit later. So, but this is the recording that came off the EP, isn't it?
It is,
our second release.
Yeah, the split with John Player Specials.
Yeah, so it's 8 labels: Kaboo, Pumpkin, Boss Tunage, Urana Vinyl, Brassneck, Little Rocket. So an amazing collection of labels, and us.
He does a radio show as well, doesn't he? Like
Yeah.
a Pulsebeat radio show, which is well worth checking out if you like your podcasts.
So
It's
yeah,
just nice to have these sort of collaborations, isn't it? It's I mean, we got asked to do an interview the other day, and very flatteringly we got compared to Household Name, but they which is mind blowing. But we were saying like it's not the same sort of scene anymore, is it? Like there's lots and lots of small labels who work together, and there's close connections between all those labels. When I was growing up, there was only like 3 or 4 labels. Maybe it was just I didn't know, but there was only 3 or 4 labels in the UK that I really knew about. Whereas now there's maybe it's just because I know more about it, but there's loads, isn't there? There's
Could be a bit of both.
Yeah, I
like-
think it's the same. Like, I think I'm probably in the same school of thought as you. As there might have been loads going on at that point that I didn't know about or wasn't part of, but it was, it might have still been going on. But Household Name they were like the label that we knew about. Like, they were the punk label, weren't they? The UK punk label at the time.
Just thinking about all the bands like from that kind of era when we were sort of growing up and like listening to, was always like Household Name and stuff like that. But I think it just, like, in terms of little labels kind of teaming together, it makes it so much more financially viable for people, doesn't it? Because I don't think anyone within the sort of DIY scene has any fucking spare income, really. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of like spreads the costs and kind of sort of spreads the load a little bit, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I guess if you were going to compare one label to Household Name, it'd probably be like Specialist Subject or something.
Yeah, I mean, what Specialist Subject have done with the shop and stuff is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and their kind of level compared to us is like, next level, and the bands they work with. But yeah, I think you're definitely right that there are lots of small labels doing lots of things. There's not necessarily I don't know. Is there a bigger label that
ties it all together? I think there's lots beyond labels, just going back to gigs, back to every aspect of the scene. There's lots of small things going on, and in the last 10 years, those small things have connected together and they've made a bigger scene. But those small things were happening, and sometimes in isolation. And the fact that those small things have all connected together is what's made something like MPF possible, for example. Like, that MPF couldn't have worked without connecting those small scenes together. And it's all about collaboration, isn't it? It's all about connecting people. I mean, going back to previous conversations from this episode, like the fact that you're selling stuff all over the world and people from Denmark have slept on the floor in a house in Ipswich. It's just mad, isn't it?
It does blow your mind. It does. It's a lovely thing.
Andy, this is not a TNS release, but I found it when I was looking at compilations. Don't know whether you want to mention this.
Oh, wow.
So this is the most ridiculous thing ever, really.
We've got that, and I don't know how. I don't know how we've got it.
Well, basically, we did made available.
Yeah, before you explain it, this is a AIM that Independent Music Awards vinyl that Hugh Stevens and Steve Lamacq picked 10 tracks, 5 tracks on either side. And amazingly, Revenge ended up on side B.
So mad.
Revenge to Shikari.
Amazing thing.
I always think it's amazing. Like, someone messaged Matt, someone he grew up with, I think, and said, "Oh, I've been at this music awards ceremony, and there's like your band's on this record that's been given out." But I always think it's funny that some people at like a music awards thing would go, "Oh, let's have a look at this vinyl we've been given. Revenge of the Psychotronic Man. Look at me, I'm a fucking tiger," which is just as ridiculous as I want things to be. But basically, we did the Maid of Ale session, and one of the guys who recorded it said, "Oh, Steve Lamacq will really like your band." Didn't think that much of it. He was a lovely guy or whatever. But we passed on some copies of Shattered Dreams, which was the album we most recently released. And a couple of weeks later, I was cleaning my bathroom, rock and roll, and my phone was buzzing and loads. It's when I still had notifications on Facebook on my phone, which I wouldn't do now. That would be ludicrous. But but I looked at my phone and loads of people were like, "You're on 6 Music now." And Steve Lamacq was proper bigging up Revenge, which again is just ludicrous. And I think it was just luck, really, that he got asked to pick 5 bands at the time that he'd had this CD in his hand. And, he must get given so much music. He must hear so much music. But literally, he'd been handed this by a guy from Maid of Ale who'd recorded us, who worked with him. He'd said, "Listen to this." And he'd had it in his mind, and he'd been asked to pick 5 bands, so we got picked. But then, we ended up on this compilation. But so the people who pressed it got in touch and said, we're sending you 25 copies, but please don't sell it because it kind of goes against the spirit of what this is about. But give it away to people who support your band and stuff. So yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah, it says Boss Tunage on the back because I think they are actually members of Association of Independent Music and
nice.
pay their dues. So, but they
beautiful record, isn't it?
They helped release that album, didn't they? So that's nice. But anyway, I saw that today and I completely forgot about it, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
while I was talking about compilations, it
was really a really bizarre thing that happened. Without getting too deep as well, I was having a bit of a shit time when that happened as well. And then that happened, I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. We're on 6 Music, and Steve Lamax put us on a record. It was that is really amazing. Nice. But yeah, on that bombshell.
On that bombshell, should we move to number TNS086? It's
so super groups are the new thing, aren't they?
Apparently so.
But yeah, this more of James not being able to
I picked up the wrong
stop doing stuff. He's just relentless, isn't he? As you said earlier.
Yeah.
I'm in awe of how much he does, like the amount of different projects he does and the amount of different releases he puts out, all the different bands he's in.
That's a wicked record as well.
Yeah.
Proper good.
I think I've realised I've just picked up the wrong piece of records.
Oh, have you got the new ones? Or have you
no. This is the one before this. It's Wretched Life, not this one. We've both made the same mistake, Andy.
Oh.
Is that the 7 in?
We made this mistake before we even started drinking. Somebody help us out. Yes, there we go. We've
been saved.
So yeah, this is the first piece of record.
James has been on this a lot. He can't be angry.
Gets a lot of mentions.
Yeah, all shout-outs.
Oh well. So
shocking,
yeah, basically they do an album with us a little bit later on, but this is the 7 inch.
Yeah, it looks.
See it again. We can flash it again if you want.
Yeah, do it again. Save us.
Got to do front and back. Ooh.
So Piss is a super group with members of multiple bands, including Matt from Revenge. But obviously, James from Domestics has sort of led the project. It's just really interesting musically, isn't it? It's like hardcore music, but with Eddie from Beat the Red Light and the Filaments doing sax, which really makes it sound very different, doesn't it?
Proper gives it like a different. It's almost like a lift. I can't quite describe it. It adds like a whole nother layer to it. You just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's like it carries the melody, doesn't it? And it makes it very catchy, even though it's so aggressive, which is quite an interesting thing. And I'm used to hearing sax on like ska releases. To hear it on full blown, hardcore music is very different, isn't it? And where we got sent it, obviously we communicate with James about his projects all the time, and we got sent it, and it was one of those where the first time I heard it, it was just not what I was expecting. And you were like, yes, definitely. Obviously I knew Matt was going down to do stuff and record guitar and that, but yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting at all. In
It
a
acts
very
as
good way.
another insight into James's brain. It's like you get so many different snippets from so many different bands, and especially during lockdown, where he's just his content just streaming out of his head.
Here's something else I've done. Here's another band. Yeah.
Well, by the time this goes out, the Pisser remix album will be on pre-order. Apparently, remix albums are the new cool as well.
Who's got Bri from Doom. It's got Eddie from that you mentioned from Beat the Red Light, etc. Sheet Limits and that. Rhodes on it from Domestics. Matt from Revenge. Charlie from Wolf Hour and loads of other bands. So yeah, a big super group. Have they actually met up together in one place at one point?
Yeah, they recorded together. I mean, I think that eventually they'll do a gig, won't they? But it'll be hard because I think there's one or two members live in Sweden, or at least one member lives in Sweden.
I think we were saying earlier, I think like I would love to see Piss alive. I think that's when they're really like kind of coming to their own. Because I love the 7-inch in particular, and the way like the sax is there, but it's almost kind of subtle, and like you say, holds the melodies in the background, but it's not like a kind of scarcore prominent sax line.
No, not at all.
Like cutting through everything. It's just like there in the background. But I think it'll be a weird one to see how sound men kind of like recreate that live.
How they're going to level it.
Like. But I really would love to see him live.
Might be like melt your face off sax. Do you know what I mean? Just like fucking hell. Be good.
The soundmen will be very tempted to just put the sax right at the top, won't they?
Yeah.
Especially if Eddie's had a pint of vodka. I once saw Eddie have a pint of vodka at Stomach Camp. He went, do you want a bit of this? I thought it was some water, and it was vodka. And then he crowd surfed onto No Crowd.
Classic.
Stomach Camp. Good memories.
Right. Should we get the next record right?
Yeah. Don't be too hasty.
Oh.
So yeah, another kind of super group, I guess. Haest from Hastings. I think it's Haest is the original name for Hastings, isn't it? Or have I just made up that trivia?
No, that's right. Yeah.
We've got hints at another band.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So very good.
I think these photos were all taken in Ipswich. I think
that was a Steamboat. I think it was a Halloween gig.
Steamboat in Ipswich. I think it was a gig that Matt put on. It was the Wankies. Was that that
one? I think it might have been that one.
With the Wankies.
Might be wrong.
It might. I'm pretty sure it was with the Wankies and Massacre, who are like Myth and Simon and Matt's band. It's a really good gig.
But they did the whole gig as Throbbing Sticks, like, with Throbbing Sticks, like full character the whole fucking way through. It was absolutely mint, so good. I had face ache from laughing, do you know what I mean? And you know how like heavy they are and how like it was just it's brilliant.
I mean, they look very happy in wearing that stuff, I think.
I think it was Daniel Kinsley, drummer. I've never seen shorts.
We kept getting shorter and shorter with his shorts.
He'd disappear out into the garden and come back, and there was like basically a thong made of denim. It was amazing.
Do you remember when we had band practice in Hastings and Daniel Kinsey went, we all need to have some Jaeger. It was the first time I proper met him. And he went, you're releasing our album, which was this album. And we'd gone down to practice with Knife Club. And he went, let's have a Jaeger. and he literally made me have about 5 Jaegers in 5 minutes.
Well,
And because I have no willpower, I had them. But
he's a big dude, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? With him, it doesn't touch the sides. I think I had like a few and just like couldn't feel my hands. I was like, I need to sit down.
I think it was the gig where those pictures were taken. We recorded the like kind of.
Oh, it's the Haest video, isn't it?
The video
Ipswich has no fun points.
Ipswich has no fun points.
yeah.
Yeah, so all their like song titles are just like quotes from people that they've from themselves or people they've met, and they just keep a record. And
I know every time Zoe says something that doesn't quite make sense or is a bit odd, she messages it to Dan and Dave straight away. And so I'll get that in the file.
I'm gonna start charging them soon. I really am.
Well, when we recorded the Knife Club album, I think we driven Ben to the Brink, and we were just sitting in his living room, and Ben just kept coming out with Haest song titles, and Dan was like, "I'm getting a full album's worth for Haest out of just Ben tonight."
So this is a bit different to what we usually do, isn't it? This release, it's kind of a slowed down, sludgier kind of release compared to usual.
Yeah, a bit Sabbathy, groovy sort of riffs and sludgy, and yeah, which is something. A big part of TNS is to try different things out, isn't it? Like, you know, it sounds cliched because we say it all the time, but punk is an ethos rather than a sound. And you know, you wouldn't say this was a punk album at all, would you? But
it's really, really grown on me in terms of like, you know, it's like,
I think it sounds massive.
It sounds like
massive.
Again, I think Ben did a really, really good job recording it, and they've all done obviously a good job playing it, and it sounds massive and quite epic. And it's not the kind of thing that I'd normally listen to, but I really, really like that album. It's a really good record. Like, just sounds massive, don't it? And
yeah,
proper huge. Like everything hangs together beautifully.
I've got some mates who are into more sort of metal and doomy sort of stuff, and that it's like their favorite TNS release, because it's a little bit different to what we normally do. But it's interesting hearing Dan's guitar, because I think in Scoundrels, Dan has this beefy, heavy guitar, which is something that's interesting about Scoundrels sound that you wouldn't expect from that sort of folky stuff. That's got this sort of beefy, heavy guitar and beefy bass and more heavier sort of drumming than you would expect from that sort of music. But the guitar stuff he does in Haest has that same tone almost, and it's quite interesting. Such different bands, but the same sort of beefiness to the guitar. That's quite a nice thing, I thought.
Yeah,
definitely works.
They're all like really nice people, obviously, and Dave's a really, really good front man, and like runs around the room and kind of gets everyone involved, and you know, they're a good band to watch live as well, which is really important. Obviously,
they played the Garlic Bread Club gig, which was the January one, which was the last Garlic Bread Club before lockdown, and what I describe as the drunkest room I've ever seen. and they were on relatively early, and it was just wild.
Excellent.
On, but going back to this whole idea of like, you know, the DIY scene connecting people, there was like 10 people from Hastings in a Manchester basement gig, and that's ace, isn't it? And
lovely how it worked out.
We always talk about the idea of bands who are involved and doing stuff being really important to what we do, because it's not just about playing good music, is it? I think bands play better music if they're the sort of bands who support the scene in general. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the bands who watch every single band and listen to stuff and take influence from all sorts of different stuff end up making interesting music.
I was thinking earlier when you were talking about the like, is there kind of like a bigger like overall label currently? And like the kind of the thought that popped into my head is, I'm not sure that there necessarily is, but it does seem that when we were like at our busiest and doing lots of gigs, the people you'd bump into again and again, all the other bands that were always also the busiest bands, usually were either on TNS or would end up having a release put out by TNS at some point. and whether that's because they're the bands that are doing the most, or just do you know what I mean? It just seemed like the people that you'd bump into again and again and again, weekend after weekend,
in various different places,
all over
well,
the
up and
country,
down the country.
would either be on TNS or end up being on TNS at some point, which is nice.
I think it's really important to not see a band as just being a band, isn't it? You know, I know there's some bands that do that, and probably a lot of them make very good music, but I think for me, being involved in music, doing this label, playing in a band, whatever aspect of it, has always been about community as much as the music. And, you know, it's nice to have a community where you've got similar tastes, or at least open to trying different types of music. And it's just nice, isn't it, when bands are just like, let's do it, let's embrace every aspect of it, let's not just play some music, let's put on some gigs, let's get these bands we like to play where we live. It's just so important, isn't it? And it's not just important, it means you make your best mates, doesn't it? It means you like meet people and you've got similar interests and you end up hanging out and getting on really well, and what more do you want?
And that community aspect is definitely kind of what we go to and go for in a band. And well, like you guys, it's like bands that actually, you know, work within the community and put on gigs, and we're more likely to work with that band. So I guess that's kind of, it works the other way, that they don't end up on TNS. We pick bands that are doing that, and that's kind of like the way it works, because if bands aren't doing that, then they're not, you know, it's less of a chance that they're somebody we want to work with, I guess. I mean, it helps us out, because we know we're not going to survive if bands don't put the effort in, because, you know, it's our hobby, and so we don't have all the time in the world to concentrate on it.
Absolutely. TNS can only supplement what people are doing already, and you know, if someone thinks that being signed to a DIY label means they can just sit back and not do anything, then it's wrong, isn't it? You're not going to get anywhere, and the label's not going to sell anything, and you're not going to have decent gigs. But if we can help a band out who are doing interesting things already, and we can just work collaboratively, then everyone's a winner. You know, it's never going to be anyone's job. And no one necessarily wants it to be, but it's going to mean that people have amazing gigs and amazing parties and have a good time. And
good times.
So you meet some of the best people in the process as well, eh?
Talking about collaborative...
I'm going to be after that 11% beer.
I was just about to do a good segue then. I said, talking about collaborative work, should we look at the next release?
Yeah, I've opened the can at the wrong time again, but yes.
So this is Jodie Faster from France, which is released by all the labels.
All the labels.
Everyone.
I mean,
11
I love loads of the bands coming out of France at the moment, like Jodie Faster, Youth Avoiders, Bang Bang Cocktail have obviously been around for a long, long time. Liturgy. There's absolutely loads of brilliant bands coming out of France at the moment. But
it's got a nice DJ sleeve as well on this release.
These are a band. It's unusual this happens, but most of the time we're aware of bands. We know them. We talk to them all the time, but we're always looking out for new music. We're always interested in hearing new things. And Jodie Faster was a band that we've been aware of for ages, but we didn't know them. We'd never met them, but we just liked their music. We thought they were really cool. And then we got an email saying, would TNS be interested in being involved? And straight away I was like, yes. I think I saw it before Bev, and I was like, Bev, there's a band who wants to be on TNS who I really like to. And then you were like the same. It just
that they're brilliant. Like that album is probably one of my favorite records of last year. Like I remember the first time we'd seen him was it one of the after parties at
I can't even remember.
Yeah, they did an after party at MPF.
And I was just so done in that night, like just knackered, and was like barely standing up, and was that kind of drunk when stuff is like happening around you, and you don't really know what's happening, and you're a bit like, and then they played, and it was just ridiculous, like just they're an amazing band, they really are.
Blew my fucking socks off.
There is a bit of a thought process of a band playing that slot at MPF, which will get people to have that reaction, isn't there?
Yeah. It's like, exactly that. Wake you up and get you back into it. That band needs to be a band that's going to kind of knock your socks off, don't it, at that point at 2 a.m. or whenever it was they were playing. But
I've just emptied my PayPal account, which was supposed to be my emergency on furlough last of my money, because they've just sold some really nice waterproof jackets. I saw them and was like, right, need to get them.
Windbreakers.
Yeah.
Or as Martin Battle calls them, a cagoule.
Pack-a-mac.
I think was it Tom from AU that brought them to MPF originally? Like they were an AU band.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I can't remember.
There's a label that have helped us out a lot in France called Capitine.
That's the label.
I hope I'm saying it right, but they've put us on in France a couple of times, and they have always
Max Prod as well.
And they've always said Jodie Faster are a brilliant band, and that was how we heard about them first through. I don't know if Capitine were involved in the release, but they're fans of Jodie Faster, and they said check this band out, and that's how we first heard about them. And then saw them at MPF and like made the effort to watch them at MPF because we had been told that they were really good, and then they were really, really good.
Yes, they were. If we could ever get them to Ipswich, like if gigs are ever a thing again and we can go outside, like I want them in Ipswich.
I think they'd be up for it. I think the thing that is worth saying about Jodie Faster and also Youth Avoiders, who are on the TNS 100 compilation, who are good mates with Jodie Faster, is that they do this sort of thrash hardcore thing, but they have no distortion on the guitar.
Yeah, it's so clean.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
so clean.
It's, the first time you listen to it, it's one of those things where you're not sure. And then the more you listen to it, the more it makes sense. And
absolutely.
It's actually really cool. It just makes it sound really distinctive. It's just ace. I love it now. It's just great.
That kind of like, especially with the Jodie Faster album, how it starts, and you're like, "Where's this going?" It almost sounds like a surfy kind of rock and rolling thing, and then
fast happens.
Very fast.
Very fast happens. I like that. Good review.
Nice. Like there's loads of good bands in France at the moment. When we can go to gigs again, definitely be up, because I know they gig a lot with Youth Avoiders and stuff. Definitely up for
we get them
trip to France and watch them two together. That'd be amazing.
I think I might be wrong in saying this, but I think Jodie Faster share a drummer with Burning Lady. Have I made that up?
I don't know.
And
I think the Jodie Faster drummer's playing for Bang Bang Cocktail now as well.
Is he?
Okay, I might have just made that up completely, but Burning Lady are a band who have been to Ipswich loads. Like they're a kind of steamboat Ipswich regular. And I might have just made that up though. So probably.
Not entirely sure.
Yeah, don't know.
It's okay. It's good to put things out there that aren't true.
I
think we should push the runway thing. The runway thing.
Well, no, I was sure that was a thing, and then just like I say, someone looked at me the other day. Can I Google on your phone, Zane?
I'll try. You keep talking.
People are open to fact check us, and put in the comments below or whatever. People.
I mean, we don't know where the name TNS actually came from. So when we started TNS, it was a fanzine, and and became a band night. But the idea was to use the fanzine to push the first gig, and TNS is short for That's Not Skanking. And I think it was when a ska band supported my first band, McGraw, and the singer. This definitely happened, but the singer stopped the song midway through and said, "Why are you dancing like that?" It was the first time people had danced in the night as well. And he went, "That's not skanking." But my friend Adam, who was in McGraw, thinks that we put on this gig at this social club, and the local running club came into the gig, which also definitely happened, and it was very funny. And this guy was doing some quite interesting dancing, you know, and each to their own. He looked like he was having a great time, and someone shouted at him, "That's not skanking." So who knows? Who knows what's real and what isn't?
Yeah.
It all merges into one, though, doesn't it, after a time? As we've learned through this series.
It's another good split.
Yeah, very good.
This is a 7-inch split between Incisions and Pizzatramp. Simple split. Lovely stuff. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, we've discussed both of these bands many times. Yeah, it's a great little record.
I think both bands have stayed on our floor at some point.
Yeah.
It works very well as a split, I think, because you wouldn't initially think that they're that different. You'd think, oh, they're both just playing fast. It's just fast, aggressive music. But there's actually quite a lot of difference in their sound, isn't it? I think Pizzatramp have got like some more sort of Zeke sort of sound edge to the sound, whereas Incisions have got more of a sort of really loud noise rock sort of element, which perhaps Martin has brought to it a bit. But they're not exactly the same, are they? It works well.
They complement each other really well, but it's.
I was wondering about the new Incisions album and whether Martin's going to have made a big difference to the overall sound compared to the first album, like whether it's going to be like he's going to have brought a big change to it, based on what you were saying, basically. But
I think so, and well, you also got the band maturing at the same time as well, so. And
also trying to be more of a band, I think, aren't they? Yeah. Like Jordan's always like led the band. He's done the songwriting, played guitar and done vocals. Whereas I think they're very much in the new album tried to write as a band rather than someone writing some songs and a band playing them.
Yeah,
and
so
that really shines through.
Yeah, it's still very much Incisions, isn't it? But yeah. There's a different, slight, change in sound, but you want that, don't you? You don't want them.
Yeah, definitely.
It's got more of a Bronxy feel to it, hasn't it? I think a bit more groovy, sort of. Yeah, it's good. It's very good. Don't tell them I said that though, because did you see them try and prank us? What the?
Yeah.
Useless.
Oh, we were cackling away.
Do you really think we're that stupid?
We were so excited as well, and they ruined it.
It was just how quickly they ducked out.
They fucking battling Jordan threw Archie under the bus, though. They always do this. They're shit friends. Like, Archie was there struggling, and they didn't help him out. They just blamed it on him. And they went, oh, yeah, it wasn't us. It's him that was shit. It was you were all shit. And you got owned. See you later, Incisions.
So, like, what's going to happen with those 50 CDs with their different artwork? Is that a thing?
Well, we're just going to keep them back, because I think they'll be worth quite a lot of money in the future.
I mean, I definitely want one. I've got the vinyl on pre-order, but I definitely want one of those CDs as well.
We'll have to do. Do some T-shirts or something with it on. Edition artwork.
Breakfast battle.
Or we could just open a cafe just to serve breakfast battle.
I'll have to drop the image of breakfast battle into the podcast, but I made that whilst I was invigilating an exam, and I just gradually kept. He tried to take a piss at me about something, and I gradually kept adding breakfast ingredients, and I was pissing myself laughing. But I was invigilating. I'm allowed to be on a computer because it's a graphics exam, so they're all just doing work in silence, and I'm just adding a hash brown crotch to a picture of battle, and I'm going. And when I got to the crock for the beans, it was over.
That's the one. The attention to detail in that was absolutely fucking superb.
Well, that's what happens if you have 3 hours of invigilating an exam. You have
what
lots
was
of
the
time
name
to
of
think about breakfast.
What was the name of the imaginary manager again? What was his name?
Bateman.
Bateman.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the best bits, Archie got thrown under the bus, but the best bits were him. Like, he put like classic rock underneath the phone call and stuff. He did the impression, which wasn't bad, but it was pretty good. He did all the good bits. He just, panicked when he realised he was out of his depth.
I think if there's anything we can take from this, it should be that Bateman should become that stereotypical manager. like whenever that comes up, it's always Bateman from now on.
I mean, Bateman is just Martin Battle in 3 years' time.
Archie's now in my phone as Bateman as well, so that every time I message him now, it just comes up Bateman. So I don't
want to rip Archie too much because I think they let him down. I think they did let him down, but he texted me instead of his mum the other night. There's a strong list of text messages.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Oh, fucking hell.
If they'd actually answered the call as Bateman, it would have been like Christmas.
Hey.
Oh, that was good. That was very, very good.
You're crackers, you are.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I've left mine in my plastic sleeve.
This is beautiful. It's got like a zine with it. So again, in the spirit of collaboration, like Christmas is a band that Revenge have played with in Germany and do loads of exciting stuff in Germany. Got very much a sort of Zeke, sort of rock and rolly hardcore feel to it, but just a great live band. We've had them over in the UK, gone down really well, but just doing really exciting things. And I was really happy to be involved in this album. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. Just everything about it's really nice, isn't it? Well put together.
I feel like we should be honest and say this is the one release.
The only one we don't have.
Out of the ones we're going over today that we haven't actually got, but we have every intention of getting it. We haven't got it yet.
Honest, Gov.
Yes.
Well, I think, is it Max
Casper?
Yeah, Max, yeah.
Yeah, like we ended up putting on another band in Ipswich through him.
Tony Gorilla, wasn't it?
Yeah, we put on Tony Gorilla.
Okay.
I think played MPF as well.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And that was another one of those gigs where it was just a really weird weeknight gig. And just put on a band we'd never heard of and like only listened to and it was a really, really good night and they were all lovely people and it was all through Max and glad it happened.
That was how we heard about Christmas and stuff like that, wasn't it?
It was like one of them random but very good nights.
Mm-hmm. I love a commitment to a shit band name, as you would expect from someone who is in Revenge of the Psychotronic Man. But I remember the first time I saw Dave's, I loved Dave's, but I thought that is good commitment to a shit band name. And Max
Casual
is very
Nausea is
honest.
not great, to be fair. We're sticking with it.
At least if you Google Casual Nausea, you'll find the band. If you Google Christmas, you've got to put some. Trying to tag them in something on Facebook, you've got to
Christmas
know
666. That's how you do it.
Isn't it?
That's very good.
And it's hard work.
But yeah, it's again, another example of like moving around Europe and meeting like-minded people. I remember like playing in Munich with Christmas, and it was just like a wicked night. And I'd spoken to Max before the gig and just like chatted over Facebook and stuff about stuff. But then actually getting to hang out, it was really cool. And then like met up with him in London and seen him at Wonk Fest, and it's just really nice, isn't it, that like-minded people get to know each other through basically making loud, angry music.
Yeah. I think because we had the same thing. I think Ed spoke to him about the Tony Gorilla gig, and then we met him at Wonk Fest and said, "Oh, it was us that put Tony Gorilla on in Ipswich," and it was nice to hear. They all said they had a good night, and same thing. Like just the what is it? The six degrees of separation. Thing in the
everyone knows
scene.
someone.
So everyone knows everyone, don't they? And like everyone's working together for the same cause, which is very nice.
It is. It's a lovely thing.
Yeah, but DIY scene is probably like 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not even 6, is it? It's like everyone just knows everyone, really.
So yeah, that's the end of our 10 releases for today.
Smashed through them.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really good to go through all that. There's some ridiculous stories, isn't there?
We will do some very, very silly things, but it wouldn't change it for the world.
I guess you guys have. It's just waiting out pandemic now, isn't it? Until.
Yeah, like I think in terms of putting on gigs, like I'm quite like I get quite emotionally involved, and I don't feel like I can deal with like putting all into promoting and then just have to call it again. So we're kind of holding back until we know we can.
Yeah, we said we weren't going to book anything.
It might mean we kind of missed the boat a bit, but we want to be sure that it's going to happen before. But when will that be? Who knows?
Yeah. Very, very.
Kind of same.
Fully agree with that. It makes me very nervous when I see other people like booking gigs that you just like. I don't know. How can you put that effort in and.
We'd be heartbroken the amount we do to promote a gig. Like I'm not saying that other people don't do that.
It's not anything different.
But like it's just my fragile like mental state, I suppose. Like if we put all of that into promoting a gig and then we had to cancel it, it would be guttering because we booked like the first kind of Ipswich festival this year.
Oh, we were going to do a 3-day.
We were going to do like a 3-day like Ipswich Punk Fest kind of thing. It wasn't called Ipswich Punk Fest. We weren't ripping off the Manchester Punk Fest.
I mean, I don't think we can claim originality on that.
Yeah, I mean, but we had like a 3-day kind of thing booked across the Smokehouse and the Steamboat, which are our 2 venues, and then had to cancel that obviously. And both venues have said they want to book it again when we can, but we're just like, let's just hold off, see what happens,
see if venues are surviving, see if I don't know. Yeah, we made the call early with MPF on the kind of the same.
I think you guys did the right thing, though.
But we just can't go through that and cancel it. So we've got the discussion to have in 6 months' time about next year. But we'll know where we're at then.
It might be a whole different world that we live in 6 months' time.
That's
fingers crossed. In many ways, it's going to get more positive.
Yeah,
it's just so hard to tell.
Yeah.
And, I guess the same applies to the band as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Casual Nausea, I guess you've got to drive 50 miles or 30 miles to go to the hangar to practice. But Knife Club practice, that's going to be difficult.
Well, like, to be honest, I think Knife Club have been more productive over lockdown than Casual have, haven't they, in many ways? But I suppose that's because you guys were used to doing things at distance without gigs.
I guess we did have that idea of having to share stuff online, practice stuff on our own before it was cool. But
basically set the scene,
Yeah, we didn't cause COVID. It wasn't our fault.
No, oh no,
just made it worse. So. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much.
It's lovely to see both your faces. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm looking
Cheers.
forward to waking up hungover on one of those couches again. Hopefully
One day,
it won't be
mate.
too long.
One day. More than welcome.
This is a sofa bed that you're very welcome to sleep on when we can have a gig in Manchester again as well.
That'd be
I
lovely. It's
used
also
to,
a
it used
very
to be a
fancy
floor when
background.
you stayed here, but now it is a posh sofa bed. There
Very
you go.
nice. Well, we'll look forward to that in the future, hopefully.
See you later.
See
Right.
you later.
Much love, guys.